If you told me a month ago that the two people I trusted most in this world were sneaking around behind my back, I would have laughed in your face. I would have said, my sister? No way. My husband? Never. We'd been together 8 years, married for 5. He was the steady one, calm, dependable, always a little private, sure, but I chalked that up to his job in tech. Long hours, quiet demeanor, low drama. The kind of man you'd never expect to lie, because why would he need to? And my sister? Charlotte. We've always had this rocky dynamic. She's the kind of person who lies for sport, like it's cardio. She's pretty in that curated, Instagram-filtered way, and she knows it. Our family's always brushed her lies off with that, oh, that's just Charlotte sigh. She's been the golden girl, even when she's been a disaster. I've always been the one who cleaned up after her. But even with all that history, I never thought she'd cross this line. She could be cold, she could be manipulative, but my husband? The signs were small at first. A few months back, he started coming home later than usual, always with a server crash or client emergency excuse. He was still sweet, still kissed me on the forehead when he got in, still made me coffee in the morning, but something in the way he looked at me changed. It was subtle, distant, like he was trying to remember how to act like a husband. At the same time, Charlotte started showing up more, popping by to check on me, she said, bringing pastries, iced coffee, stupid gossip. It was weird. We weren't ever that close, and suddenly she's acting like she wants to reconnect. Something in my gut told me it was fake, but I was too polite to say anything. Politeness was my first mistake. What I didn't know then was that my entire life, my marriage, my family was a curated lie, and that lie was about to fall apart spectacularly, like a rotten floorboard caving in under my feet. I just didn't know it yet. It started with a sound I've heard 1,000 times before, that little ding his phone makes when he gets a message. Only this time, he was in the shower and it was sitting face up on the kitchen counter while I was making breakfast. I never check his phone. We had that kind of trust. Or at least I thought we did. But something about that ding, it felt loaded, like the universe whispered, look now. And I did. I swear to God, I didn't go snooping. I didn't scroll or unlock or hack into anything. It was just there on the lock screen, plain as day. Can't stop thinking about last night, devil emoji. You still taste like me. From a contact saved under the name of C. My heart went cold. For a second, I actually hoped it was spam, some weird phishing attempt. But then my brain clicked into gear. C. Charlotte. C is for Charlotte. The timing, the tone, the goddamn emoji. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just stood there paralyzed, holding a spatula, watching my marriage snap into jagged pieces. He came out of the shower like nothing was wrong, towel around his waist, humming to himself. When he saw me holding his phone, his face changed. Not scared, not guilty, just frozen. I turned the screen toward him. He didn't speak, didn't reach for the phone, just stood there, dripping, eyes darting like he was trying to find a version of reality that made this okay. C is for Charlotte, right? I asked. I wish my voice had come out angry or demanding, but it was quiet, fragile. Like I needed him to say no. He didn't. Not right away. Not at all, actually. His face just cracked. I saw it, the performance unraveling. You weren't supposed to see that, he said. Not, I'm sorry, not let me explain, just you weren't supposed to see that. That's when I knew it was real. He tried to talk, but I walked out. I needed air. I needed to scream into the void. I texted Charlotte, shaking. Just one word. You? No reply. 15 minutes later, she sent a voice memo. A voice memo. Because of course she did. Want to know what she said? Sis, calm down. It's not what you think. I didn't know you guys were still, together. You're always so distant. And he told me things were basically over. Don't be dramatic. That's when I realized they weren't sorry. They weren't afraid. They were in this together, and I was just the dumb extra in their private little drama.
I don't know what came over me, honestly. Rage, spite, that eerie kind of calm that shows up right before you burn everything to the ground. Whatever it was, it made me send this text to our group chat. Yes, we had a group chat. Me, my husband, and my sister. Dinner, tonight, 7 p.m. Be there. No emojis, no follow-up, just that. I made pasta, something simple, because if I had to saute or season anything while imagining their bodies intertwined, I might have stabbed myself with a ladle. I didn't even set the table properly. One of the forks still had water spots on it. He showed up first, walked in like he wasn't 3 steps from being dumped off a cliff. He asked, "Are we seriously doing this like a family meeting?" He asked, avoiding eye contact, like I was radioactive. I said, "Sit down." No hello, no hug, I didn't even blink. Charlotte showed up 10 minutes later, wearing my sweater. My sweater! That buttery soft cream knit I'd let her borrow last winter and never got back. The audacity. Oh, this is cozy. I wasn't sure what kind of vibe this was. You knew exactly what kind of vibe this was. Silence. I laid it all out. The text, the voice memo, the months of lies. I told them both to explain separately. And they did, like 2 scummy little middle schoolers caught cheating off each other's test, but still pretending it wasn't technically cheating. It started around last Christmas. She was upset about your fight. I offered to talk to her. One thing led to another. Her. You and I weren't close anymore, and he said you 2 were like coexisting, not really married. He needed someone who saw him. It wasn't supposed to be serious, but then it just evolved. Her, you have always had everything. I never meant to hurt you, but it was like finally something was mine. I swear, my soul left my body and hovered over the table, watching them gaslight me like I was a side character in my own goddamn life. I asked him point blank, "Do you love her?" And he said, "I don't know. But I know I don't feel like I belong in our marriage anymore." And Charlotte actually had the nerve to reach for his hand across the table, and he let her. I stood up. No screaming, no crying, just done. I looked at her and said, "You were my sister." And she smirked, legitimately smirked. I still am. You're just being dramatic. No, what I was being was free.
You'd think the affair would have been the big twist, right? Wrong. That was just the appetizer. After that family dinner from hell, I told him to get out. He didn't fight me, just packed a bag like he already knew this day would come. He said he'd give me space and stay with a friend. Spoiler, the friend was Charlotte, of course. I spent the next 48 hours spiraling, crying, rage cleaning, obsessively scrolling through old texts, pictures, receipts, bank statements, anything I could use to explain how my world collapsed without me noticing. That's when I stumbled on something that didn't add up. His pay stubs. He always told me he worked in back-end systems for a mid-sized tech firm. Stable job, 6 figures, but not crazy. Said he was saving for our next big chapter. We shared a joint account for bills, but he kept his personal finances separate. For emergencies, he said. But the pay stubs I found were from 2 different companies. Neither matched the one he always talked about. One was a Shell LLC. The other was, wait for it, his own. I Googled it. He's the registered owner of a company I never knew existed. He didn't work in tech. He owned a boutique cybersecurity firm with contracts worth millions. Plural. There were travel receipts to Dubai, Singapore, and Milan, none of which I'd ever heard about. A second apartment in the city, a BMW registered under the LLC's name. All of it hidden, all of it quietly tucked away while he let me believe we were on a tight budget and saving for the future. So not only did he cheat, he lied about who he even was. This man wasn't just my husband. He was a ghost in a tailored suit. I confronted him over the phone. Didn't give him a chance to lie. I asked him, "Do you own Valor Systems Security?" Dead calm. Pause. Then in the quietest voice I've ever heard from him, "I was going to tell you, eventually." Eventually. I laughed. I actually laughed. Then I asked, "Does Charlotte know?" Silence. So I pushed. "She thinks you're some average tech nerd playing house, right? She doesn't know about the money." More silence. That's when I knew he was playing her, too. He told her he was struggling, unhappy, trapped in a dead marriage with a cold wife, just like he told me he was loyal, hardworking, just trying to keep us afloat. We were both props in his double feature. The best part? That second apartment I found? I went there. And guess what?
It was fully furnished, with a woman's robe hanging in the bathroom and perfume I didn't recognize on the dresser. Charlotte's? No, someone else's.
I don't know what I expected when I walked into that apartment. Maybe silence, maybe guilt, maybe a sock left behind or a seat that would connect the dots, but not this. Not her. Let me back up. After finding the second apartment address on one of his corporate mailings, I went there without telling anyone. My stomach was in knots the entire drive. I half expected to find him and Charlotte inside, playing house, laughing about how dumb I must be. But when I got there, it was empty. Not abandoned, just quiet, neat, minimalist, the kind of place someone actually lives in, not just crashes in. I stepped inside, shaking, and immediately noticed the details. His cologne in the bathroom, a toothbrush that wasn't his, soft pink with a worn grip, a robe hanging on the back of the bedroom door, delicate and cream-colored with lace trim. Definitely not mine, definitely not Charlotte's. And finally, perfume. It was floral and heavy, the kind you only wear when you want someone to notice. I didn't recognize the scent, but it was everywhere. The sheets, the towels, even his hoodie on the chair. My brain spun. Charlotte didn't wear perfume, ever. She thought it made her break out. That's how I knew. This wasn't her place. There was a drawer half open in the nightstand. Inside, a small collection of makeup, a diamond tennis bracelet, and, this is the kicker, a business card. Dr. Marin Valenti, clinical psychologist, private practice. At first, it didn't register. I stared at the name like it meant nothing. Then it clicked. Marin was the therapist he claimed he'd been seeing for stress. The one he said helped him get through his dark phases. I asked to meet her. He said, "It's not that kind of therapy. We just talk online. You wouldn't like her style." Yeah, I bet. I looked her up. She had a private office across town, 5-star reviews, and a glowing bio about emotional clarity and interpersonal reconnection. There was even a photo of her. She was gorgeous, sleek, professional, early 40s, striking smile, the kind of woman who radiated calm competence and apparently slept with married men who paid for her apartment. I felt like my blood turned to ice water. So now there were 3 of us. Me, the wife, Charlotte, the sister/side piece, and Marin, the therapist turned, mistress? Sugar baby? His actual girlfriend? That night, I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I didn't break anything. I made a spreadsheet. Yup. A full-on betrayal map. Names, dates, addresses, flights, credit card charges, text messages, perfume brands, car rentals, apartment keys. I even color-coded it, because if I was going to fall apart, I was going to do it organized. The sickest part? The timeline showed overlaps. He was seeing Marin for at least a year before he even touched Charlotte. That meant my sister was his side check, the backup act to a sloppy sequel to A Secret Life already in motion. Charlotte didn't know, I didn't know, hell, maybe even Marin didn't know, which made what I did next inevitable. I called her. I didn't plan to meet her. I didn't even know what I'd say if she picked up. But I couldn't not call her. I needed to see her face when she found out she wasn't the only woman. She wasn't even the second woman. She was part of a harem built on bullshit, lies, and secret condos. So I called the number on her business card. "Dr. Valentini's office, how can I help you?" Her voice was smooth, confident, like she smiled while talking. I could already picture her sitting behind some sleek walnut desk, sipping green tea and doling out life advice she clearly didn't follow herself. "Hi, Marin. This is Ava. I think we need to talk about my husband." A pause, then a very careful voice. "I'm sorry, I don't know. No. See, that's the thing. You do. You just know him as Aaron." His legal name is Elliot, by the way. Aaron was the alias he used on business trips. Dead silence. Then, "Would you be willing to meet in person?" We met at a cafe near her office. She was exactly like her photos. Glossy, composed, expensive. But up close, I saw the cracks. Her eyes were puffy like she hadn't slept, and she stirred her coffee so hard it sloshed onto the saucer. "Eva," she said, offering a soft smile, "I have to admit, I wasn't expecting this." "Really?" I said, laying my phone on the table. "You're a psychologist. You read people for a living. You didn't even suspect?" She went quiet, then finally muttered, "He said he was divorced, that you were toxic, controlling, that he was trying to protect his assets from you." I laughed. Couldn't help it. "Yeah? I'm so controlling that he forgot to mention he also sleeps with my sister?" Her face drained of color. "Excuse me?" "Oh,
You didn't know about her either, I said sweetly. Her name's Charlotte. Same age as me. Less brains, more lip filler. He's been with her about 6 months. You for about a year, right? He told me. He told me he wasn't seeing anyone else. Of course he did. He's living a triple life, Marin. I was the wife. My sister was the affair. You were the therapy-flavored midlife crisis. And I wouldn't be shocked if there's a fourth somewhere in Prague. She stared at me, silent, then finally whispered, The apartment? I nodded. Yep, the one he said was ours. He told Charlotte it was his crash pad for when he was burnt out. He told me it was a rental for traveling clients. Then I slid a manila folder across the table, inside a printed summary of my spreadsheet. Names, photos, financial records, flight itineraries, receipts. Color-coded. Her hands trembled when she opened it. She didn't cry, didn't yell. Just sat there as the full weight of his deception landed on her brick by brick. Finally, she looked up and asked, What are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to ruin him.
Marin called me later that night. She'd finished combing through the spreadsheet and cross-checked some of the financial data with what she thought she knew about him. Turns out, he had promised her an investment in a wellness startup. She gave him $25K. It never materialized. That was her breaking point. I'm in, she said. Let's take the bastard down. You'd think teaming up with your husband's mistress would be awkward. Weirdly, it wasn't. It felt like planning a war with a fellow soldier who's also been stabbed in the back. Same trauma, different battlefield. We weren't friends. We were co-conspirators. I already had dirt. What I didn't have was access to his current communications. Texts, emails, especially anything involving Charlotte. Marin did. Apparently, he'd given her access to a shared cloud folder for personal photos, but it also synced with one of his old devices. Every photo, every screenshot, every text he sent while logged into that device got backed up there automatically. And that's when we hit the mother lode. There it was. A text from him to Charlotte 2 weeks ago. She's getting suspicious. I think Ava found something. Play nice if you ask questions. We just need a few more months. Once the transfer clears, we're gone. A few more months? Once the transfer clears? I asked Marin, do you think he's talking about your investment? She scrolled, then shook her head. No, he said that already cleared last month. We found it 3 messages later. A thread with his lawyer under the alias Aaron K. West. It was about a property trust in the Cayman Islands. $2.3 million being moved into his name, scheduled for finalization in 9 weeks. So now it was official. He was planning to vanish with the money, with Charlotte, and possibly leave Marin in the dust after using her as financial leverage. This wasn't cheating. It was fraud, con artistry, predatory deception on 3 friends. And that's when I decided it wasn't enough to leave him or even expose him. I wanted to annihilate his mask. So I devised the plan. It had 3 parts. Public exposure. I compiled everything into a Google Drive and wrote a calm, legally safe summary with timestamps and receipts. It was anonymous, but compelling. I posted on a private forum for women in tech whose husbands were also in the industry. The post went viral in under 6 hours. Financial freeze. Marin contacted her attorney. Since their $25K had no formal investment agreement, it was grounds for fraudulent misrepresentation. He was served with a preliminary freeze order on all funds connected to the startup, including the trust and family fallout. And this was my masterpiece. I invited my parents to brunch. I also invited Charlotte. She showed up in heels and a smirk, wearing his watch, sipping a mimosa like she was about to win something. Then I pulled out my iPad, screen shared everything. Tax, transfers, photos of the second apartment, the robe, the perfume, the lawyer emails, and finally, the same message she'd gotten. We just need a few more months. Once the transfer clears, we're gone. She blinked. Wait, what's this? I looked her dead in the eye. It's him. playing you, just like he played me, just like he played Marin. She paled. Who the hell is Marin? Right on cue, Marin walked in. Crisp white blazer, lip gloss, a smile like a guillotine. My name's Annalise, but go ahead and keep the rub. I've got another one. Charlotte's face cracked fully. And our parents? Speechless. My dad looked like he was trying to compute 7 lies at once. My mom's mouth hung open like she had just swallowed a fly. The brunch ended with Charlotte storming out, my parents begging me to be civil, and Marin and I sipping lattes like victorious witches at the end of a Salem trial.
I picked the place carefully. A quiet little rooftop bar we used to go to on our anniversaries. Romantic, nostalgic, deceptive. Just like him. He walked in 5 minutes late, like always, wearing confidence like it was armor. Black shirt, pressed slacks, leather shoes that definitely weren't from our shared closet. Not a wrinkle on him. He smiled like a man who thought he still had cards to play. "Hey," he said, all casual, like I'd invited him to discuss a misunderstanding, not detonate his reputation. "Sit." I didn't even offer a drink. I didn't come here to be soft. He sat down leaning forward, eyes scanning my face like he was searching for weakness. I opened my phone and slid it across the table. Google Drive, one folder, labeled everything you thought I'd never find. Photos, screenshots, account transfers, emails, the game and trust, the second apartment, his text to Charlotte, the third woman. All of it. His eyes didn't move. He didn't touch the phone. He just stared at me with that terrifying stillness, the kind predators use when their game stops playing along. "You've been busy," he said. "And you've been sloppy." A muscle in his jaw twitched. I watched him flip through mental scripts, weighing which version of the truth he could weaponize. The remorseful husband, the misunderstood genius, the victim of a cold, nagging wife. But I didn't give him the chance to pick one. Marin's filing a fraud claim, your Cayman transfer is frozen, and you're trending anonymously in every tech wives forum from here to Silicon Valley. He blinked. Just once, but it landed like a gunshot. "Why are you doing this?" he asked, voice tight. That made me laugh. Honestly laugh. I lit the match. I just handed people the matches you forgot to hide. He stood slowly, like he still thought he had control, like this wasn't the exact moment everything fell apart. "You'll regret this," he said, low, a threat wrapped in desperation. "No," I said, grabbing my drink, finally. "I regret trusting you. This is self-correction." He walked away without another word, into the night, into whatever version of himself he thought would survive this. I didn't watch him go. I was already planning the next chapter.
It was 7:43 a.m. when the email came in. Subject line: "Please just read this. You won." From Charlotte. I stared at it for 10 full minutes before opening it. My first instinct was to delete it, but curiosity is a cruel thing. It wasn't an apology. Not really. It was a slow bleed of insecurity and panic dressed up as introspection. She said he left. Just disappeared. One bag, no explanation, no goodbye. She said he told her I was dangerous, that I was emotionally unstable, manipulative, that I'd faked a breakdown years ago to guilt him into staying. He told her we were over and that she was his second chance, his real beginning. And she believed him. Because of course she did. What shattered her wasn't the fact that he'd lied. It was the realization that he didn't even lie exclusively to her. I invited her to talk. Not out of kindness, out of control. I wanted to see it, the moment her delusion turned to dust. We met at our childhood home. Our parents were there too. I was done cleaning up Charlotte's messes in private. She showed up like a storm had passed through her. Hair unbrushed, hoodie swallowing her frame, no makeup, no heels. She looked like a version of herself she didn't want the world to see. I didn't say a word, just handed her a printed report, something Marin and I had dug up in our final sweep. A woman, Alina, LA-based branding consultant, model turned influencer, business partner on paper, in reality, his longest-running affair. Receipts totaling over $60,000 in gifts, transfers, travel, hotel stays, Photos of her in Dubai in that exact hotel he claimed he stayed at for a leadership summit. She was the first, maybe the favorite. She stared at the papers like they were written in another language. He told me he was done with cheating, that I was just healing, she whispered. No, I said flat. You were just next, not different, not better, just convenient. And then something I never thought I'd see. Charlotte broke. Not fake tears broke, not crocodile sobbing. Silent, pale, shaking. I thought I'd taken something from you, but he never even gave it to me. My mother tried to speak, some weak protest, some fractured attempt at playing peacemaker, but I cut her off. No, I said, let her sit in it. Let her feel what she made me feel. Let her understand. Charlotte didn't ask for forgiveness. She didn't try to spin it. She just stood up, folder in hand, and said, I hate him, and I hate myself more. I didn't stop her from walking out. Because for once, Charlotte didn't need me to clean up the wreckage. She was already standing in the middle of it.
People always talk about betrayal like it's a single moment. One discovery, one confrontation, one explosion. But that's not how it works. Betrayal is slow. It spreads, like mold behind a wall, until one day you lean against it and the whole thing crumbles beneath your touch. And when it's over, there's no real closure. No final conversation, no handwritten apology, no soft ending where everyone learns their lesson and hugs it out over wine. Sometimes you just stand there, in the wreckage, surrounded by the bones of what you thought was your life, and realize you survived it. That's it. That's the win. The dust settled slowly. My husband, or whatever he is now, never resurfaced. After that final meeting, he vanished. I heard through third party that the fraud investigation is ongoing. Marin pressed forward with legal action. Charlotte provided a statement. There's a paper trail longer than a CVS receipt and a handful of pissed-off investors who now know exactly where their money went. As for Charlotte, she moved out of state. My parents begged me to forgive, but forgiveness isn't a door you walk through. It's a labyrinth you crawl through, bleeding and blind. I'm not there, and I might never be. She hasn't reached out since that day, and honestly, I'm not waiting for her to. And Marin, she and I still talk, occasionally. Not as friends, not really. Just two women who looked into the abyss and lived to tell the tale. She sent me a message recently, just one line. Thank you for not letting him disappear quietly. I printed it out, taped it to my mirror. I moved. New apartment. My name on everything. I kept one glass, one plate, one set of silverware. Because I'm not building another house just to fill it with lies. Every item I buy now, every dollar I spend, every decision I make is mine. Not shared, not hidden, just mine. I started going to therapy. Real therapy. Not Marin-planed therapist and his bed therapy. I'm learning to hold my own rage without choking on it. How to mourn a marriage that never truly existed. How to mourn a sister who's still alive but lost to me forever. And somewhere in that grief, in that mess, in that slow, uneven healing, I found something I didn't expect. Peace. Not the kind you get from revenge, not the kind that comes after justice, but the quiet, brutal kind of peace that grows in the crater when you finally stop trying to dig up what's dead. What I've learned? If something feels off, it is. Trust your gut before your guilt. Love without honesty is just performance, and no one wins an Oscar for surviving it. If someone betrays you and you still try to protect them, that's not loyalty, that's conditioning. And finally, when people show you who they are the second time, believe them. To anyone reading this, scrolling through the subreddit at 2 a.m. wondering if you're crazy, you're not. You're just standing on the edge of a truth you already know, and it's okay to jump. I did. And I didn't just survive the fall. I built a new world at the bottom. One without him, one without her, one where I'm finally fully me.
It's been exactly 1 year since I found that text message. 1 year since the mask slipped. Since my husband, ex-husband, was exposed for the serial liar he was. Since my sister proved that blood is thinner than ego.
since my world collapsed like a house of cards built on swamp water. I expected to be bitter by now, cynical, hardened. But honestly, I'm alive, I'm thriving, and I'm fucking unstoppable. Let's rewind just a little. After everything fell apart, after the legal chaos and emotional wreckage, I took a long, hard look at my life and asked, what now? So I made a rule. No more surviving, only building. First move, I sold the house. Yes, the house. The one we were going to grow old in, the dining room where I caught him lying, the bedroom where he whispered futures he never meant. Sold it, scrubbed it, never looked back. Second move, I took the settlement money, after freezing his assets, thank you very much, and opened my own business, a boutique interior design firm, something I always wanted but shelved for the sake of our plans. It's now booked 3 months out. I built an all-female team. We don't just design spaces, we reclaim them. Divorcees, survivors, women starting over. We walk into homes where trust was poisoned and turn them into temples of autonomy. I even named the business Reframe. Poetic, I know. As for Charlotte, she sent one email on New Year's. Subject line, I see it now. No apology, no begging, just that. I didn't reply. She moved to Florida. Her Instagram is mostly passive-aggressive quotes and palm trees now. She got a job in some real estate firm. I heard through the family grapevine that she's found Jesus. Jesus can keep her. And him? Oh, Elliot. He tried to crawl back once. After the lawsuits at Old A and the fraud spotlight faded, he sent me a letter. Handwritten, no less. Said he was in therapy. Said he had seen his patterns. Said he hoped I'd one day remember the good times. I burned it. On my balcony, with wine in one hand and a playlist titled Rotten Hell, Elliot, playing in the background. Martin and I still talk occasionally. She's dating someone new, a chef. She laughs more now. He doesn't know her as the mistress, and she doesn't let that label define her. She is rebuilding too. Me, I'm dating, casually, no expectations. And honestly, it feels good to be wanted without needing to be worshipped. I sleep in the middle of the bed. I leave dishes in the sink. I go to the movies alone. I flirt when I feel like it and leave when I don't. My life no longer revolves around protecting someone else's image. It revolves around me. Because the biggest plot twist of all, the woman I was before, the accommodating wife, the fixer, the pleaser, died in that kitchen holding a spatula and a text message. And the woman I am now, she doesn't need closure. She doesn't need revenge. She just needs space. And she takes up every inch of it. To anyone still in the fog, still doubting their gut, jump. The fall hurts, but the flight after? Unreal.